Hi everybody, I'm Supriya Shreyan, a corporate and institutional trainer and a founder of Winning Edge Training Organization. Well, today I'm here going to talk to you about an important topic which is called emotional agility. Well, we've all heard about emotional intelligence, that is managing your emotions, feelings, and ability to manage the feelings of others and so on. But emotional agility is a very essential concept which we need to apply in our lives, especially during this COVID time. People are stressed out, they're unable to manage, and balance their workplace, work and home, and as well as so many other commitments and are totally getting bogged down. So here comes the importance of emotional agility. So let me share a beautiful instance before you. There was this young female by the name of Cynthia. She was a working woman and she was a very hardworking, dedicated, and dynamic person. But she had one thing, which went on in her mind constantly, that she wasn't able to devote 80 hours a week, at her workplace because she had two children and she had her family commitments and so on. So Cynthia was totally disturbed that her colleagues devoted 50 hours a week at their workplace, whereas her colleague devoted 80 hours and she devoted only 50 hours. And that made her really feel upset, and she felt, very, very disappointed by the fact that she was not able to give 100% at work. So friends, Cynthia then had those nagging voices come into her mind, and those voices kept on going in her mind like, oh, whether she would be a good, employee at work, or whether it would be a career failure for her, or sometimes, voices like whether she would be a good mother, or whether she would really be able to, really maintain that family relationships. Those voices kept troubling her all the time, and the more she tried, stopping those voices from coming, the more it came and troubled her constantly. On the other hand, there was another senior executive by the name of Jeffy. Now, Jeffy was also a very hardworking, intelligent, and dynamic person, but he was very short tempered, and he also disregarded his boss's views and opinions. And he was also a person, who would really kind of get ridiculed a lot of times, and he would also insult his subordinates, speak rudely to them, speak to them in anger, and so on. And it so happened that the senior management, got to know about this, and they really gave a warning to Jeffy and told him to be under control. So Jeffy decided, yes, I must be under control. I must calm myself down. So the more he tried to calm himself down, the more, more upset he got, and the more angrier he got. He realized that. So Jeffrey and Cynthia both were in a confused state of mind. That's when they decided to practice the concept of emotional agility. So emotional agility has four important aspects. One is, firstly, recognize your patterns. Recognize when are you feeling, so dejected or so emotionally, disturbed. When are you really getting so hooked or constantly hooked onto your thoughts and emotions? A lot of times people get rigid, people become repetitive, in what they're saying, or constantly feeling that, strong repetition of negative thoughts coming into their minds, right? And they get hooked onto it and base their thoughts on facts. So that's when you know that yes, somewhere, you are getting emotionally drained out. So that's the first thing. Second important aspect that you need to, look on is label your emotions and feelings. So what do I mean by labeling your emotions and feelings? It means examine your emotions and feelings, and allow it to pass by, just like clouds passing by the blue sky. Just let it go, And in fact, even Cynthia, which we heard about the instance about Cynthia where, she was kind of juggling both between her work and home commitments, and where she was finding it tough to devote time at work. And so Cynthia began to label her emotions and feelings. So when she started labeling her emotions and feelings, the criticism which once felt like a dense fog, it just passed by. It just passed by like clouds passing a blue sky. So this is a very important aspect, that is labeling your thoughts and emotions. The third important aspect here is acceptance. Do we really accept things as they are? No, right? So friends, when we accept, situations, feelings, and not get caught up by it, life becomes much more blissful, doesn't it? Well, do not act on every thought and emotion, or resign to negativity. That's very essential. And also, it's very essential to, see every thought, emotion, situations or feelings with an open attitude, with an open mind. Thirdly, of course, don't get hooked on, to your thoughts. A lot of times people get hooked on to their thoughts, base it on facts, and that's when they land up in trouble, right? So make room for your feelings and emotions and do not reject them, right? Because if you reject them, you're bound to get caught up into them, constantly, right? So Jeffrey also did the same thing. He made room for his feelings and emotions, rather than rejecting them or quacking them out, or maybe even some people, take it out on maybe others, they take out their anger or vent their anger on others. It happens a lot of times. So instead of doing that, it's very important to make room for your feelings and emotions, right? So that's what Jeffrey did, and then later he realized that, he his approach towards life changed. He, instead of yelling at his subordinates and colleagues, he approached them in a very peaceful manner. He placed a request rather than yelling at them. Right? So it's very important, when we manage our emotions, our actions become always positive. And last important aspect is acting on your values. Now, what do I mean by acting on your values? You need to understand what are the important values that's close to you, right? A lot of times, people don't act on their values, and they're not able to, manage their emotions and feelings. They're not able to manage situations around them. That's because they're not acting on their values, right? So do not suppress, your inner experience, or do not buy out, your inner experiences. Rather, it's very important to kind of let go of things, right? Align your thoughts, emotions, and feelings to your values, right? Don't get, learn how to unhook those thoughts and emotions. And when you unhook your thoughts and feelings, you'll see you have a variety of choices. Right? You'll be able to expand your choices, right? Similarly, in Cynthia's case, when Cynthia was, kind of earlier, she was so upset that she was not able to get enough time for her husband and children. Once she got back home from work, she would really be, in fact, even at dinner table, she would be on her phone, constantly sending messages. But later she realized she was not spending that quality time, with her family. And she felt her children were, feeling neglected. But when she started aligning her thoughts and emotions and connecting it to her values, she realized that yes, I must remove quality time with my family, whether it is spending time with children or looking after her husband or looking after the entire family. She began following that and realized the importance of it. And also when there were school events, which coincided with her business trip, she even managed time to go for her business trips, right? And ensured that yes, justice was also given at work, right? Not only at family. So later, she was able to balance work as well as family, and of course, the personal guilt which she had earlier, totally vanished. There was total absence of guilt in Cynthia's case when she practiced the concept of agility. And so did Jeffy, who was always full of anger and full of negativity with his colleagues, with his bosses. Once he practiced the concept of emotional agility, he developed harmonious relationships with people around him. And lastly, but not the least, I would like to say is let's all practice this concept and make our life much more beautiful, peaceful, and happier. Thank you very much.